Welcome to the Department of Justice. We are delighted to be hosting the second annual meeting of the National Right to Counsel Consortium here in the Great Hall. And we are proud to have provided support to the consortium as its members engage policymakers, criminal justice stakeholders, and the community about the vital importance of the Sixth Amendment right to counsel. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court said, quote, "The right to counsel is the lifeblood of our system of criminal justice." And the court went on, quoting the United States Supreme Court, to say that the Sixth Amendment right to counsel is, quote, "necessary to ensure fundamental human rights of life and liberty, and serves as one of the essential barriers against arbitrary or unjust deprivation of human rights."
The purpose of the Right to Counsel Consortium is to focus on how we can continue to make the promise of Gideon v. Wainwright a reality for indigent persons at every stage of the criminal justice system nationwide.
We all have a responsibility. We want our criminal justice system to be just. We can't do that without a strong front end, coupled with a strong back end, and that partnership is just a natural partnership.
The right to counsel embodies a core truth of our justice system, and it really, to me, makes real the concept of fairness under the law. All of us know all too well the promise of the Gideon versus Wainwright decision, but we also know all too well that for too many people in this country, Gideon is a promise that is unrealized and unfulfilled.
As we are strengthening our criminal justice system, I think we also have to remember that a core component of our system is that everyone, regardless of race or class or status, has access to competent counsel.
The reality is that the public perception of people who need counsel and can't afford it is that they're not deserving. They are simply not deserving.
Due to under-resourced public defense systems and overworked defenders, we have effectively two justice systems, one for the wealthy and another worse one for the poor.
And I can tell you, being from kind of the conservative free market side of the spectrum, we wholeheartedly endorse the idea that people who have more resources can afford to buy, of course, a nicer car. They can have a Tesla instead of a Toyota. But when it comes to indigent defense and liberty and justice, it should be blind to what a person can afford. Everyone should be entitled to quality representation.
I have seen firsthand the relentless dedication to the cause of justice that public defenders exhibit each and every day, oftentimes in the face of difficult, if not impossible, circumstances. Public defenders are often understaffed and under-resourced, and that's not how our system is supposed to work.
The other concern was, do the ABA principles, are they aspirational, or do they really reflect what the Constitution requires? And there was a debate within the committee about that. Ultimately, there is always a concern about where is the money going to come from to fund public defense, and what does the Constitution require?
Missouri's not really looking to do massive criminal justice reform. Well, fund the public defender system, which is oftentimes not part of the conversation when we're talking about righting the ship on mass incarceration. Just to borrow a simple sports metaphor, if you're a hockey or a soccer fan, pull your goalie. Pull your goalie. And there's going to be a lot of balls going in the net that shouldn't go in the net. Same is true with the public defender system. If you have, as we do, 82,000 cases, which represents 250 cases at any one time for a public defender, you cannot provide substantive representation for them, and you, by and large, you are just meeting and pleading them, and the prison population, as a result, is artificially increasing.
And the truth is that we each bear a personal responsibility for that systemic failure. I think that's a critical moment. We can either at that point try to minimize or back away from the bad news, or we can take that as a call to action to do something.
In terms of the bottom 10 states in terms of public defender funding, and by and large, those are the same states that are top 10 per capita in prison funding. So the correlation is obvious, and we need to draw attention to this. And I think we succeeded in that. He hasn't released the funding, so we have that to deal with. But we had to resort to that, something of a political maneuver, because no one else was paying attention. And I think in Missouri, we got the conversation started.
But the Sixth Amendment, as all amendments actually should be viewed from a conservative viewpoint, and they should be supported. Conservatives ultimately believe in limited government, they believe in individual responsibility, but they also believe in individual liberty. And individual liberty clearly lands right here in the Sixth Amendment, and therefore it really is up to us to defend that individual liberty. We also believe in that limited government, and in the courtroom, or when a person is actually charged, all of a sudden you have all the resources of the government against a lone individual, and oftentimes many of them are indigent. And so for those of us who really believe, we see that, even if as a conservative viewpoint, we see that as an unfairness and unjust in our opinion. And so therefore, even in Idaho, our discussion was never about should we be leading here, and is this really where conservatives belong? Absolutely, this was where conservatives belong.
And so I think it's really important that we focus on return on investment, on outcomes, on really quantifying the impact of our terrible decision-making at the front of the system, and make the argument that we can make better decisions, have better outcomes, and invest that money back where it should be, which is in the communities and the schools and all that stuff that keep people from committing crime in the first place.
In the last couple of years, I have spent time with people from all backgrounds, with correctional officers and inmates, with law enforcement officers and public defense advocates, from community leaders and community activists. And despite the differing roles that each of them has, and sometimes the differing perspectives that they have, the common theme has been clear from this, and that is that the status quo needs to change.
This was not a rich man, poor man fight. This is not a Republican or Democrat fight. This was really all about what was the right thing between government and citizens.
I hope that out of this meeting that we will have not only meaningful resolutions and meaningful ideas of reform, but we will come out with a commitment to also educate the public in this whole process, because they simply don't understand. And if it's not before them, and if we don't put it before them, they simply don't know. And we cannot leave the responsibility to just the people who are out performing public defender services. All of us have a stake in this, and we must embrace our obligation to safeguard and fully implement and execute Sixth Amendment rights.
Thank you for what you all do every day to make our shared obligation to fulfill that promise a reality. Thank you.